Hello, hello.
Hello. Hey, Vibe.
What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm
How your eyes?
yeah, they're all right. They're doing okay.
I think I watched a video where you were playing a lot of WOW and you strained him or something like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. I did. Uh, so I a lot of times I don't take a day off. Like before WoW came out, I did like 13 days or 12 days in a row of no day off, and then so it's like every day just stream and stream, stream, stream. And then when WoW came out for 4 days after that, I streamed for 17 hours a day. It was a bit fucking insane.
So before we start, can I just ask, like, this is what you do for a living, I imagine.
No, I also work a full time job. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, this is what I do for a full time. It's like I don't fucking sleep ever. 1 hour. Uh,
So I can tell you like my story, and then I have a replay that I can talk about too. However
yeah,
you want to go about it.
that sounds good, man. Yeah, go for it. Let me know what's going on, and we'll go from there.
All right. So I am a gold player. I made it to gold one, and now I'm kind of like back down in gold three, silver one. And I think I did what a lot of players do. They find a really good all in, and then they use it until they start playing good players and then it doesn't work. So now I'm back doing B to GM style. I've watched every one of your 2019 Protoss B to GM, and I can usually win most macro games with gold players, but I'm very much prey to Zerg and Terran all-ins, and I've got this replay which is like pretty long, and it's me versus a Terran, and basically what I kind of want is to just have you tell me what I'm missing in B to GM style because I'm committed to that until whenever. And so there's probably some things that you say that I miss, and I wouldn't mind you just kind of like pointing out
Yeah,
where I'm going wrong. I think I'm bad at scouting, and I think I don't place gateways right, like in SimCity fashion. So whatever you notice.
sounds good. The one thing I'll say is if your replay is super long, that's totally fine. The way StarCraft 2 usually goes though is if like let's just say hypothetically your game is super messed up by um like let's say like we get to like 7 minutes or like 6 minutes and your game is already really thrown off. What's gonna happen is we can still go through the rest of the replay to like give you some like more quick ideas about like how to do what and when and where things should be happening. But
Mm,
if your early game setup, if the pace is off, it's gonna throw off the whole game anyways. So if the first 6 minutes are really off, talking about like the last like 25 minutes or whatever is just gonna be irrelevant.
yeah. I have another backup replay of PVZ too,
Oh,
which is a lot shorter.
also, no, it's totally fine too. Like, I wouldn't also say like you better make sure you have a lot of replays. Like, I'm not trying to make you feel that way either. It's like we could even do this without replays. Because I could just give you some examples as well. Like, I can give you a more. This is kind of what I'm thinking to help you out the best. Okay, this is where my
Okay.
brain's kind of at. I'm gonna go through the replay with you, the one you've already offered, and if you want to go through a second one, maybe how to like defend an all in or something like that, we can totally go through that too if you'd like. But
Yeah.
after I kind of get an idea of where you're at and what is going wrong in your game, I'll give you a updated to today version of you know maybe something that could be a slightly more efficient. It's gonna mostly be the same though because that shit's pretty repetitive in terms of like year to year. Like diamond below is always the same shit usually. But the point I'm trying
Yeah.
to make here is I can give you an example build, basically, like to be like, all right, so this is your new quota, this is your personal new checkpoint, and then if you can hit these, you're gonna be like, wow, okay, like I don't really, as long as I can hit these check marks, like that, everything just feels like it flows a lot better, because there's,
Definitely.
and we'll
If there's like
compare
stuff
differences. What's up?
like if there's stuff that's 2020 related that clearly I'm outdated on, that would be great. Whatever you
Yeah,
think is best.
I would say most of it is like 2019 because I did make that for 2020. Like that was the purpose of it because I made it after BlizzCon in 2019. But it's mostly going to be the same. It's just like depending on what you like to do, we'll see. Because I just want to get an idea of like how you're playing it. Um, anyways, go ahead and if you're not already on StarCraft, go ahead and log in and If you are on StarCraft, I can tell you how to send me a message in just a sec. Just let me know when you're ready, and I can tell you.
All right. So if I go to play, then I'm gonna leave Discord. Is that all right?
If you want to leave Discord, that's fine. But if you, I'm not sure what you mean. It maybe like
Like,
kicks
can
you
I
out of
do
Discord.
both at the same time? That's what I'm saying.
The what? Sorry, your mic kind of cut out there.
Can I jump into StarCraft and be on Discord talking
Yeah,
to you at the
yeah,
same time?
totally. Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Then I'm going on.
Let's do it.
Oh, cool. See, I've never been on Discord, so I don't know. So
Yeah,
here
it's
I am.
Discord's easy peasy.
Yeah. So I know that I have to watch a replay with others.
Yeah.
So I have one
So
labeled up.
I'll run you through step by step what you got to do. Super easy peasy. Just let me know when you're actually on BattleNet, like in the main area, like the lobby of BattleNet. Okay, so
Right now.
in top right, left click your portrait, which will open up your profile.
Yep.
And then on the left side of your profile, hit the button that says ladders.
Yep.
And then the exact same spot, hit that button again that says Grandmaster.
Yep.
And then scroll that list down to 114, which will be me. And then you can right click me and send me a message so we can make a party.
Done.
Nice. And then I'll invite you. I'll make you leader. And now all you got to do is go to replays in the top middle. Find the replay you want to watch. And then when you have it selected, hit watch with others. Perfect.
Okay.
And then last thing you got to do is right click my name in the lobby and make me lobby host.
Done.
All right, perfect. Easy. Easy peasy.
Yeah. Discord's great.
All right, so just also I know it no matter like if I'm mid sentence and I'm kind of telling you some stuff, feel free to interrupt me if you have a question and let me know what you're thinking. I want to make sure your questions are getting answered, so don't feel like you have to wait to like hold your train of thought to let me finish. Just interrupt me and ask me whatever you want, so
Okay.
we know what's going on. And anyways, with that being said, I'll just kind of run here with what I think is going on and start telling you what's up. But first things first. Okay, so here's already a little bit of a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You pulled a probe off the mineral line instead of letting your probe that builds out of the nexus build the pylon. And here's why this is a problem. The pylon will finish if the way you built the pylon where you pull the probe off, it's going to mean your pylon's faster now. And what happens now is your nexus is no longer building a probe because you're like building it as fast as you can. And what this means is your pylon is going to finish before you supply block, and it's going to actually prevent you from building a probe for about the next like 3 seconds. So it's definitely going to make you not supply block in that reason, because now you're also not building your supply up. So this is already in the first like 15 seconds of the game, your build is already behind by probably like 3 or 4 seconds.
So I should have had a probe in the making before I did that.
Yes, you should keep the probes always pumping the whole time. Like always make sure the second the probe finishes, you have another one started. Because you could have, all you do is you rally the first probe you build in the nexus, rally it to wherever you want the pylon to be. That probe spawns and goes to that location and then builds the pylon. Meanwhile, you then re-rally the nexus back to the mineral line, and another probe is already in production.
Okay. So you're gonna see a lot of mistakes, I think. So don't freak out.
No, I'm not gonna freak out. It's all good, dude. It's kind of what I expect. Like people, because a lot of times, I'll pause and just say this really fast. A lot of times, someone will watch B2GM, and will be like, like, okay, I have a good idea of what he's doing, but then it's such a difference when you watch B2GM and you're like, okay, this looks like it's not that hard, and then you recreate it yourself without, like, it's just like you're doing it yourself now, and whatever you do is happening, and it things change quite a bit when that happens, and a lot of people don't realize shit like just what I just said. They're like, oh wait, what? Okay, like I didn't know that puts me behind like that. All right.
Yeah.
All right, your gateway was good. You actually pulled your probe off just before you had enough minerals to build a gateway, so that when you had enough minerals to build a gateway, you got there to do it. That was super good.
Yeah, this is the standard I'm afraid of
Yeah,
the Reaper.
exactly.
Mission.
Yeah. Your Chrono Boost is well used. Um, the only thing I would say is, okay, so now, like, right now, you're stopping pro production again. We'll see how long this lasts for, right? But this is the kind of stuff that will hurt you a lot. Because the thing you got to also realize that basically what happens is in StarCraft 2, if you ever make a mistake for, like, let's just say it costs you, like, how I just said, like, your build's like maybe like 4 seconds behind, you don't get that time back. Like, that time is gone, which is why I was saying, like, the first 6 minutes is huge in terms of just like if you can develop a build properly. And if you can't, the rest of your build is it doesn't, like, if the train derails off the track, it doesn't just suddenly get back on the track. It's always derailed the whole game, and now it's just like making do with what you can after that point. So every time, for instance, when you don't build a probe on the Nexus, every probe after that is now delayed by however many seconds the next probe you're making is delayed by. And then it adds up for every probe you do this to. So I would imagine if you're going to go to 80 probes this game, this Nexus itself is still going to be building probes for about like 25 more probes by itself, or maybe like 30 more probes by itself from this point to 80. Because you got the natural that's going to make some, you got the third base that'll eventually make some. But like every base that you make in addition to the ones you already have, they're not going to make equal amounts. It's not going to be like 25% per base for 4 bases, because it'll be like 50 or 60% of your entire probe count will be made out of your main. Probably like 35% will be made out of your natural. Like 15% will get made out of your third, whatever. And like by the time your 4th base is done, you're probably almost done making probes. If you know what I mean. Like, it's just, most of it's going to be made out of your main because it's the Nexus that's up all game. So every time you miss probes like this, it's fucking huge. It's so big. And this probe missing here is lasting for a while.
If we get to it, maybe what I'm supposed to look for in scouting would be helpful.
Yeah,
I listened
sure.
to some of your diamond videos, but they were a little like you were telling me like how much gas like the Zerg is supposed to have, and like I should look at that, but maybe that's too advanced.
So I think it is, and here's why. I backed it up for a second, and this is, I'm glad you said that because I want to show you a point really fast. A lot of people, like, notice how your probe is leaving your base right now, right? And look at your next, you're still, like, other than the pylon mistake I think you made, which is, it's just a mistake in terms of, like, when you built it, because you just pulled off the mineral line instead of sending it from the Nexus, which we already talked about, which is fine.
Yep.
But you were constantly macroing until this point right now. So you just made another probe, but now I'm going to watch your camera for a second, and your Nexus is going to not build another probe after this one. You're just done now. And the reason,
you know why?
I know why.
Because I thought I was supposed to stop at 16. That's my.
Oh, you're definitely not. I was thinking the reason why you stopped scouting here is because you are trying to think way too hard about what you're going to scout, and you're trying to think way too hard about what you're looking for. And like we'll talk about scouting, and all that. You know, we'll get an understanding of like what is actually going on. But I do think that players in general that overthink early game about what they're going to see, and they stop macroing like that. Like, for instance, let me explain like this. If you think really hard about what you're going to scout and you stop macroing yourself, even if you scout everything perfectly and you make a perfect read in terms of an assessment of what it is, if you go, okay, you are going to go for a 1 Rax Reaper expand, and then you scout a 1 Rax Reaper expand, and you're like, okay, cool. But let's say it took you 30 minutes to solidify that information. If you don't macro for 30 seconds in the process, it doesn't matter even if you've read it perfectly, because you're still behind and you can't even deal with it properly anymore if it comes to that point. So, like, scouting should only be an addition to what you're doing and not like a full-on initiate, like it's just what it is. And just so you know as well, like for stopping supply, I would say this: for Gold League, don't ever stop. The rule is don't ever stop. Don't ever stop making probes. Yeah. Just make probes the whole time. I usually get trouble
because I over macro and I'm making too many probes and not enough army, and that's one of my problems. So.
Sure. You definitely. Well, that's where we'll give you a build. That's where that'll help a lot. But I would say you definitely can't make too many probes. The only way that's going to happen to you is if your Nexus is fully fucking queued up with 5. Then you're like just rocking like 3 bases or 2 bases with 5 probes every time, and I'm like, okay, you have a lot of money tied up in those Nexus.
Yeah.
But like right now at 57 seconds, okay, your probe finished. So remember, 57 seconds, and I'm watching your camera in the game, and I think you're gonna grab the probe here pretty soon. and okay, we'll see. But there we go. And it's just gonna be one of those things where it's, again, 57 seconds, right? There still is no probe being made. This is already 20 seconds.
Yeah. And I did that because out of misinformation that you can't build a Nexus in a cyber core if you don't have that money saved. But I was wrong about that.
Okay. Yeah, no, like if you ever just know if you ever stop making probes like this, there's only. I want to explain this concept just so like this makes sense for you, and this will apply to the future for you as well. The only time it ever makes sense to cut probes ever is in a standard build. If we're talking like Diamond Plus level, I only ever tell people to cut probes for all of about like fucking 6 seconds or so at 20 supply. And the reason why is because you at 20 supply, you have one gas fully saturated, you have a mineral line fully saturated, and you have one probe currently building the Nexus at your natural. And you have another probe in production essentially. Or I mean you will eventually have another probe in production. But in that moment, when you're ready to build a Nexus, you build the Nexus and then you build the core and then you go back to making probes, and it's like 6 seconds or so of no probe production, and then you go right back to it, and then you just never stop from that point. And in general, a standard build, the way it will operate if you stop making probes is when you're ready to cut probes to do a timing, or if you finish, like whenever you're done making probes, for instance. So some people stop at like 40 to do an all-in. Some people stop at 32 to do an all-in. Some people stop at like 55 to do a really aggressive like 3-base timing. Some people stop at like 80 to 85, like we talked about in Beta Jam, because you're ready to go into the macro army development stage of just like deathballing all game. It only makes sense to stop making probes if you're gonna just stop making probes. Like if your plan is you go, okay, well I'm at that point I want to be at. Now it's time to go full aggression.
All right, that's helpful. So maybe just have like 1 to 2 max in queue at any given time.
Yes, always. And because you're doing Beta GM style, you should never stop making probes until I would say once you're in Diamond League, then you can kind of do that 20 supply cut for a second to make the Nexus thing to be really cut and clean. But for Bronze to Plat, that's not really applicable. It's just keep making probes in Bronze to Plat.
That's helpful. You can see that he's like doing a bunch of proxy stuff. It's a very weird game.
Okay, I'm gonna look back at your vision, or I mean, I haven't actually looked at anyone's vision but yours yet. But I'm gonna go back to what you saw, for instance. Now I'm gonna speed it up to when you get there, and check this out. This is how you can read a build. All right. So if you're in the game and you're playing this and you're like, okay, I don't know what he's doing because he's got a wall on the ramp already. I would say this. You kind of do know what he's doing, and here's why. This could be one of two things, all right? And you can tell based off your build to his build, and here's what this looks like. If you look back at your base right now, your gateway is done. It's a 40, and just know this, okay? A pylon and a supply depot have the same exact build time and the same exact mineral cost. A barracks and a gateway, same exact thing. They cost the same, and the build time is the same duration. So if you look at his barracks at his ramp here, and it's literally just started, and yours is just now finished, there is a massive discrepancy here of 46 seconds. Really like 45, I guess. Because yours is 1 second out and his is not even 1 second in yet. So it's like 1 second difference. But you saw it just go down. So if you think about like, okay, well, why the fuck is your barracks going down right now? And my Nexus is just finishing. I would say this to you. You can do a standard Beta GM style, but I would say make a battery right away as soon as you can at your natural. Because the two things that this build could be is, number one, it could be multiple barracks right now. Because if his other barracks, if this is like his second or third barracks just starting, that's very possible. And it's starting to wall you out so you can't see what's going on in his base. The other thing this could be is it could be a command center. He could have gone for like a really fast command center and then made the barracks. Because think about it like this. It makes no sense if this was a gas really fast. If this was for like a tech build. Because if this was for a tech build and gas, why would he delay his tech path so fast? It makes like this could still become a gas eventually and go into like proxy marauders or something like that. But he did not rush a gas is all I mean here. Like if you would never rush a gas and then wait to build your barracks. That'd be like you taking both your gases as Protoss and then being like, I'll build my gateway 40 seconds later. And then have my tech path all delayed because the tech path is delayed, and I'll have 400 gas in the bank just waiting to build my core. So that's that's not what he's gonna do. So again, the only thing this could be is it's multi racks or it's command center first. Does that make sense? Because this has to be late barracks like this. That means this is okay. This is why the last thing I'll say to make sure this makes sense.
Okay.
Do you know how much minerals a barracks costs?
150.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know how much minerals a supply depot costs?
Guessing 100.
Exactly. You're nailing these, dude. Fucking perfect. And now, do you know how much minerals an SCV costs?
I'm gonna say 50 or 75.
It's 50. Yeah, you're good. Okay, and then how much gas do all of these things cost?
None.
Okay, perfect. Because exactly that's what you should be thinking. Like when you're playing this game like this, you should be thinking mineral, 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 all mineral cost. There is no gas, so how the fuck is he going to be able to have gas and have a barracks this late? It means he has other mineral costs somewhere on the map, whether it be in the form of a command center or barracks. So that's how this actually makes sense.
But all I can see right now is his barracks that's beginning here. So I can presume that he has proxies elsewhere. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm trying to say is this proves the fact that his barracks is just starting. It proves he's not rushing tech. And if he's not rushing tech, he's doing mineral cost things only because tech is gas. Gas is tech. Tech is gas. So if there's no tech going on here, and it's pure mineral, it means it could be a command center because that's also pure mineral. It's the same as a Nexus. It's 400, but it's either a command center or it's more barracks. So it could be either one. It's just a mineral based build. So a good reaction to this would be to just build a shield battery. Do your build as standard, but just build a shield battery.
Okay, that's helpful. It's tough for me to know, what I'm looking at oftentimes when I scout, but this
Sure.
helps.
It's just you just gotta really think about what he like. It makes literally no sense for him to go tech now because like if you think about it, like if someone's gonna proxy their barracks and then they're gonna they could do that. I'm not saying they can't, but they could proxy a barracks. But if he's gonna take gas and he's gonna proxy a barracks and then he's gonna also build another barracks back at home, it means even if he was gonna be aggressive, his build is super inefficient because you cannot afford to go for tech and also tons of minerals early game at the same time. Your build is just going to be kind of inefficient.
Yeah.
Like, how do I want to say this? He's already built 2 depots. He's already built a barracks. And if there are more proxied barracks on the map, it means that this dude could have like 4 SCVs already off the mineral line doing nothing. If they're, because I'm not looking at everyone's vision, I'm looking at yours, but these are things we should be able to assume. Like, because I'm just thinking, like, I'm looking at the game from what you should be expecting in your perspective. If this dude already had if he already had, like, let's just say 4 SCVs off the mineral line, just building buildings, and then let's say he also was mining gas. Look how many, like, if you hit I on the keyboard really fast, look at his income. This is very standard it's only 1 minute and 20 seconds in. Like, you both have, I would say, a lower SCV or a lower worker count than you should, because you can make a worker every 12 seconds and you start at 12. So you both could be probably around like 18, 19 workers right now, like probably 18. But you could be at like probably 19 because of Chrono Boost. But the point I'm trying to make here is if this dude was having tons of SCVs, building tons of buildings, and then also mining gas at the same time, he would have fucking no money for anything. Like he would just have this massively inefficient build. And then again, if you remember the key thing I said about beta GM, efficient build always beats inefficient build, even if it's wrong. Like, what that means is, in StarCraft 2, in general, this is where a lot of players get confused. Okay, I'm gonna try and make this make sense. In StarCraft 2, a lot of players think to themselves, "Oh, okay, so if you macro and you play greedy, and someone else plays all-in aggression, all-in aggression beats greedy play because you just get killed really fast. Or if like someone plays really safe and defensive and someone plays all in, now suddenly the safe and defensive build wins because you're playing super defensive against someone who's all in. Like people think that these concepts apply to lower league and they don't. In lower league, you could play greedy and someone could play all in against you, and if his aggression is inefficient and your greed is efficient, even though his strategy is supposed to win on paper, you'll win because you'll just out macro him because your build is efficient and his is not. And 99% of players in gold and platinum and bronze and silver, they do not play efficient. So
like the golden rule of being a GM right there.
Yeah. So like it's just one of those things where you could look at this and simply just like, we don't have to go into every little detail of information of scouting because like I don't expect you to have a master's level read on this. I would just say this. Okay, cool. Late barracks because my gateway's done and your barracks is super late. It just started. I'm just going to build a shield battery in my build, but I'm still going to do my build as is, as normal, but I'm just going to add a battery. So if it looks awkward and weird and it's not standard, just add a battery. That's all you got to do for now. It's just to make it super simple, but just to understand the reads as we talked about earlier. That's kind of how you could look at it deeper if you wanted to. All right, so now we're going back home and we'll see what your build's doing. And again, if we look at the Nexus, it still hasn't built a probe yet. And I know you said you were saving, but the money is getting super high. Okay,
yeah, that'll be one of the takeaway lessons is to not save for that, upcoming build, upcoming natural.
And I'll tell you as well right now, your Nexus should be going down by probably like 125, roughly. And your Nexus should be the next cost before the gas, before the core, and before the second gate. So it should be, the build should actually be pylon, gateway, gas, Nexus, core, gas, pylon.
Yep. That's what I memorized. I think I do that. We'll see.
Well, right now you've done, this game you did pylon, gateway, gas, gateway, core, pylon, and there's no Nexus at all. So you just don't have a natural Nexus at all. And it's just very, very, very delayed. Your Nexus is already delayed by about a full minute.
I think I'm panicking.
No, it's totally fine. It's just like, this is that moment, I would say, when you have a player who is recreating something and then just the build gets dislodged as they're doing it because like I think you are thinking I'm gonna die, and you're definitely not, because like your build, like in terms of time of what's going on, your build's already super far behind now, in so many ways. And if you just like for instance, you'd be surprised. I'm like, this is why I want to show you an example that I'm gonna give you. I'm definitely gonna give you an example, but we're gonna take a read on it. Like at 5 minutes, we're gonna pause this and we're gonna take a note of what you have. And we're also gonna, whenever this guy attacks you, we'll take note of what you have by then too. But like already right now, your build's just really off, and you're getting attacked. Okay, so now we can confirm. Okay, proxy racks for sure, because that proves now. Okay, there is obviously the barracks being delayed is for the reason of okay, there was proxy racks on the map, and that's just what it is. So at like go back for a second. I want to see exactly when you saw it. Okay, so like at 2:38. Okay, so we'll write this down. At 2 minutes and 38 seconds, you see the Marines coming in. Do this. Okay, I want to write this down. 2:38. You see Marines coming in. Marines attack, and right now you have 22 probes. You have no natural, and you have army-wise, you have 0 units at the moment, which are not out yet. So you have a stalker and a sentry in production, but you have 0 units currently when the attack is happening. So we'll keep note of that, and then we'll come back to that later throughout the lesson when I show you an example. And now this dude's attacking you, and he's pushing up with some Marines. This is now going to be a serious problem. Uh, you pull the boys, which is
That was a big mistake. I know that.
the what's up. Sorry.
I know you should never pull probes like that. That's a
Oh
stupid
no,
mistake.
no. It's I would say right now, in a moment like this, it I wouldn't say it's the worst idea because like if I was playing this game, I would pull the probes. Like you kind of have to at this point. Like if you just let the probes mine and die, if the Marines actually start shooting them, you have no choice but to do it. But I would say you ideally want to get out of the situation of having to micro. And the situation you're putting yourself into is a situation of having to micro, and the reason why that is because you have less than you should because your build is inefficient. If your build was more efficient and you just had more shit, you would you could kind of AFK defend yourself because you're focusing purely on macro. See, like it's stuff like this right now, and I know you're getting overwhelmed, but watch this, okay? Now I'm gonna point it out really fast, but check this out. So he's pushing in your base with these Marines. Watch your gateway specifically with the Stalker. All right, now you pull the boys to get him out of there. He shoots a couple Marines and he backs up. Your Stalker finishes at 249. Watch the gateway. You never touch it again. You also, and then we'll see what happens with the sentry as well. But for now, you don't touch the gateway throughout the whole, like you start microing the Stalker. And this is the kind of shit that you have to break yourself of. You have to make sure you're always macroing, regardless of pressure or regardless of no pressure. Like it's easy to macro during no pressure, but it's hard to remember to macro during pressure. And you're not making probes either. So every probe that dies is just not getting replaced, and you're not building it up. And if your Stalker dies or your sentry dies, the whole game is now weighing. It's like the weight of the game is now on their shoulders because you are just not macroing any units anymore.
Yeah.
And you want to know something? You want to know something really funny? Watch this guy's, and also look at his barracks too. They're like not. He's trying to micro. This is the thing where I'm talking about inefficiencies. So if we look at your opponent, I just hit everyone's vision here, but look at your opponent and look at his barracks that are proxied under your main base. There are 4 Marines that are not even coming to your base to help. Yeah. He did make them, but he's not using them. And now look at his main base. There is 1 Marine and soon to be 2 Marines that it's not coming to help. And now really quickly, I want you to click one of his barracks. Like in his, click the barracks in his main base, hold shift, and then click the other 2 barracks that are proxied. So what I want you to look at is I want you to look at the white boxes in the barracks to represent Marine production. Now I bet, here's what I bet. I bet he will not add production to this until these Marines in your main base die. Because they're definitely going to die because he's trying to kill your probes instead of your Stalker and Sentry. But I bet he will not macro a single Marine. In addition to what he already has in production, which is 4 Marines currently, he will not make another one until these Marines are dead. So just watch the barracks white boxes, and they'll just disappear. There'll be 1 here soon, and if the Marines last long enough, there'll be 0.
Okay.
I am very fucking surprised that he did that. I'm not gonna lie, dude. He actually made more. Holy fuck. Most people don't.
I actually survived this thing, actually, but, you know.
Oh, for sure. I know you do. And the reason why is because he's got 6 Marines on the map that are, like 7 Marines on the map that just never came across to help. 8 Marines. I see where all of them are right now. He's got 8 Marines that most of them are next to the 2 racks proxy, and then 2 of them are down by his main base. He just never brought them over. All right, and then now, okay, so from here, now this is that point where I'll take it to like, I'll just kind of skip it now pretty fast. I'll skip through it pretty fast because the rest of this replay is really irrelevant. Like, if you get in this position, you're fucked. This is kind of like one of those throwaway games where it's, if you let the game get to this point, this is just, the game has now gone from a gold level standard to now a master's level standard in terms of difficulty. And it's not, this is not what you should be like expecting to prepare for. In terms of like, I just want to say it like this. If you allow yourself to get in positions like this, you've already made the mistake. That is like unforgivable, and you should just start over. Because if you're in this position, the game is so much fucking harder than it has to be.
So I made it to 23 minutes, but what you're saying is if I didn't make this mistake, none of that would have mattered. I may not have lost. You know.
The main thing I'm trying to explain here is that I hope it makes sense is the game already has derailed so hard up to this point that it's going to only derail even harder playing from here. like this game has turned into a situation where macro is no longer the case in point. It's now just how do I micro out of every situation?
Yep.
Because there is no macro anymore. You can't even expand because now there's a bunker at your natural, and the Marines have actually killed already 6 probes, and the probes have stopped mining so many times that at 3.5 minutes in the game, you have less workers mining minerals than you had at second number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So this game is derailed super hard. So yeah, like the whole rest of this game is just like we can go through it and talk about ideas, but
have to go through it.
like,
If you want to recommend a build or whatever you think is the most helpful.
oh, we'll definitely go through it like really fast. Like I'm not gonna spend like to go through this game entirely. We'd have to take like 2 hours about how long it is, but like and it wouldn't even be helpful. It would be so minorly helpful because it won't even apply to 99% of your games.
Got it.
But at this point now, the best thing you can do, honestly, I would say is build a robo and do not push that barracks down until you have 2 things. More stalkers and an immortal and the battery overcharge. And you might even want to make a shield battery on the edge of your ramp on your main base on the high ground. This position doesn't look good. And the fact that you haven't even started a robo means that wouldn't even happen for a long time. Because if you walk down the ramp, here's how that would go. If you walk down the ramp with an immortal leading the charge and you popped Guardian Shield as well, it would reduce a lot of the damage the immortal would take, and the shield battery would easily heal the immortal for a long time, and the immortal would bust that bunker super hard, and then your stalkers would just clean up behind it, and then you could re-expand and then go from there. And then you'd have to like counter pressure him and make him not able to macro while you also then macro. Like that is how this game should be played from this point, where you're at right now. And the fact that you're making up to 5 gates now is just you're now super all in.
Yep.
And I would say those batteries as well are defensively located. It should definitely, I would say 1 battery on the edge of the ramp would be better, because you're hoping he pushes your main now rather than you getting ready to bust the natural. You're playing the defensive posture setup here, which if you play defensive at this point, you'll just die because you'll run out of money. Yeah, I was gonna do the 5-minute thing, but it doesn't matter anymore. This game's very derailed, so.
Yeah, whatever you think is best.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, and then. Okay, so and this is just that moment where there just isn't really, there's too much, and I know the game got really confusing and really weird, but there is just too much shit and not enough utility of this stuff. So like right now you have 5 gates, you have a core, or sorry, you have a council, you have 5 gates, and you have a robo, and you have a total of 26 probes. Like you definitely can't sustain all of this on 26 probes. Then I know the game got derailed hard, but I would say the 5 gates was an overreaction to what happened to you. Like here's the thing I mean. If you just actually spent your money on 2 gates, just 2 gates, with the probe count you had, you could have spent all your money. But the reason why you made 5 gates is because of the things like I was talking about when like your stalker popped out of the gateway. You just never made the stalker, or like the second one and the third one. You waited until after the pressure was over and then you made your units. So it's just like trying not to tunnel vision and get caught up in the moment of like, I have to micro.
Yeah.
All right. And okay, I'm thinking about it, and yeah, I think for the sake of time, I think let's. I kind of get an idea where you're at now, and I think your build is just it's super inefficient. And I want to just give you an efficient version, and I want to really slam out some reasons why it's efficient and what you should look for, or like what you should like the key things you should add to your mindset when playing the build out. I think if we do that, that'll help you a lot more. Because yeah, we'll just bump out of this, just because this game is like the posture. I feel like you're about to attack him, and this game is super derailed. It's no worries, dude.
Okay.
All right. So I am going to invite you to a party again, so I can just really quickly be leader here, and then I will make a game, and I will have you be a referee, and then Yeah, we'll break things down really fast as well of like key points. But this should be, and then also if you ever miss what I'm, you know, the points of this, there's two things I want to do here. One is I want you to get an understanding of like this time rule we're gonna have, and the second thing is it's just gonna be like checkpoints throughout the game that I want to make sure we cover that are gonna be very, very helpful. But now, so like when I was saying earlier, like how I wrote down your build and, you know, like the numbers of it, that's all irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What I want you to do in the future from now is I want you to basically, I want you to do this, okay? This will be something I'm gonna explain during the like on visually on the stream really fast, and then it won't take me too long. And I want you to do this for yourself. This is the thing I'm gonna make in my next Be the Gym series. That's gonna probably give people a ton of advice. I do this all the time already. I did it throughout the series, like here and there, but I'm gonna do it in like the intro to it next time, so people, like everyone, just sees what this is right away. I want you to every single game write down what my supply is at every minute mark that the game is. So like you literally pause it exactly at 1 minute, at 2 minutes, at 3 minutes, at 4 minutes, all the way to 10 minutes. Like the exact, you don't pause it at like 4:07 or like 3:52. You pause it exactly at these minute numbers because you can easily adjust the timer in the replay. And when you pause it at these replay just minutes, you write down worker supply and army supply. That's all you do. And
okay.
So we'll do worker, and then army, and then you can just like copy pasta this shit like this, like paste, 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 and now we have a worker supply and an army supply at every single minute of the game, and I'll actually do this for you on mine, and this way it'll be like this will be the visual that you can just have for yourself. But we'll come back to this and we'll fill this in a little bit. But what I want you to do is you'll have my build as an example. And I want you to look at that. And I want you to then compare your own games to that yourself. Because if you, like, for instance, with the way that last game was kind of shaping up, let's just say, like, you actually, got to your natural, you got to your third base, and you're like, okay, well, I'm back on track with Beta GM. Let's see if we can make this work. It would be like, at 1 minute, you might be like 1 supply behind. At 2 minutes, you might be like 5 supply behind. And at 3 minutes, even though I only have like 35, 40 supply or something, you might already be like 18 supply behind. And it just starts, the build derails super hard. And what this does for you, the big reason why I think this is useful for a player to learn the StarCraft in a really fast way is because it magnifies your mistakes. It doesn't just basically go, okay, well, look at the quote-unquote replay and go figure it out. Like, go figure out where you went wrong throughout the 15 or 25 minutes of a replay. Instead, what you can do here is you can magnify your mistakes, where eventually you'll be like, okay, well, I'm actually keeping up with ViBE's build up to 4 minutes. I can slam it up to 4 minutes. It's perfect. But then I always fall apart at 5 minutes. I don't know why. Like, what the hell's going wrong in 4 to 5 minutes that I need to fix? So now suddenly you magnify your problem. So now you can go back to 4 minutes and watch very closely what I do differently than you in that 1 minute of time. And you're like, oh, okay. He builds his gates here, or he builds his tech here, or he builds his third base really fast here. That's where I'm going wrong. Like, his supply always rips off of me. Like, it just starts skyrocketing away at this time. Yeah. So then, if it just makes it easier to see where your mistakes are going wrong than having to look at the whole game. And it gives you checkpoints to see if you're doing things right or wrong.
And I'll be able to save this.
Liz, thank you. Yeah. All you got to do is, when this is over, just hit the replay name and just change it to, like, ViBE example or something for yourself just so you have it forever. And then I'll also link this VOD to you on Discord too, after when I post this to YouTube. So you'll always have a VOD too. You can always go back and watch. All right, so Beta GM, I am going to Gateway Scout just like you did. I'm going to do a standard build just like should be, and I'm gonna take you all the way to maxed out, and we'll see how long that takes us to max out. So we have a probe in production. We grabbed the probe. The probe off the building off the Nexus pretty much is when we built the pylon. We let the probe finish and then built the pylon. We didn't build it before. And then we're just making probes. Easy peasy. We'll grab our probe early before the pylon's done so we can have the probe there as it finishes and build our gateway. Go back. And then we can use this probe to go scout his base. We can chrono boost our nexus.
Yep.
We can then build a gas. And we're still producing probes the whole time. The whole time. Probe production constantly happening is super, super, super important.
I know you said that like 1050 is kind of a silver aim for maxing out, but
yeah, it's not bad. It's respectable if you can do that. It's doable. Just know though, if you can actually like constantly produce probes, you will max out faster, much faster than that. Like that's accounting for you making a few mistakes here and there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we have our nexus, and look at the time. Remember I was at 125. We were like, you know, your nexus last game. Obviously there was some regression, but your nexus went down last game at like 5.5 minutes. Okay, so we have our core being started. What's up?
No, I'm just impressed with the 125 nexus.
Yeah, man, it gets going real quick if you just try to hit those timers. We'll pick into the pylon. Okay, so all we've done so far is we've just constantly made probes. We're making the probe again. And we scouted in with our other probe that just went across the map, which is fine. But now we have a fully saturated main as soon as this probe pops out. And we have our gateway finishing, so now we can we'll chrono boost once on the stalker, and we'll chrono boost once on the nexus. So we chrono boosted twice on the nexus, once after both pylons finished. So pylon number 1 finishes, chrono boost the nexus. Pylon number 2 finishes, chrono boost the nexus. Gateway finishes with the core, or rather, sorry, core finishes. We chrono boost gateway, and that's it. That's all the chrono boosts we've done so far. And from this point on, all we're gonna do is chrono boost nexus, 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 nexus.
I don't remember you chrono boosting gateways in Beta GM, but well, that's new for me. I think it was always probes up to a point.
All right.
But yeah, that.
I would. Okay, that's fine. I would say just start adding it in. It's all good. And now we can add in a robo and a second gateway. And the reason why we're doing this is because we have full probe production, which is what we really care about. And we have enough gas to be able to afford the robo after making the sentry. So again, our priority is definitely production of what we already have, and then we can add on top of it afterwards. So we don't want to just always like stop producing, because we're adding more buildings on. We want to always make sure we're producing and then adding more buildings on as we can continue to afford them. So.
Yeah. Speaking of which, one of my mistakes is I once read that you should have 3 gateways per base, and that led me to make too many too quickly.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. That depends what your build is. Like, you can sustain 4 production buildings per fully saturated base, but if you just straight up, like, make those things way too fast, like, your build will become super inefficient, for sure. Okay, so we're just producing constantly. We can send a hallucinated phoenix out to his base. And we can get ready to take our 3rd base.
Yeah, 3rd base at 418. That's awesome.
And then we can build a pylon here. Just always like pair it with a pylon. We can build our gases that are natural.
So the reason you can build a 3rd base at 414 is because of constant probe production.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Okay.
Our probe production is nutty right now. And then we will keep chrono boosting probes. Keep making stalkers as we can. We can saturate those gases we just made. And we can rally our nexus to our 3rd base at this point, because it's almost done and our natural is fully saturated. And we're just still producing non-stop out of our gateways and out of our nexus. It's just always maintaining constant production.
Yeah, this is insane. Insanely efficient. So maybe I should practice doing this, like, on an AI, just trying to match your times. Would you say that's helpful?
That's totally fine. Yeah, like, see if you can. It's going to feel a bit awkward at first. Like, if you really are just trying to, like, squeeze out the macro as much as you can, because you might not be like super used to like what you're looking for. But all I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at my Nexus white dots. I have all my Nexus in the same control group, and I'm looking at my gateways like cooldown. So I'm like, okay, I need to make more probes because there's only one white little dot in there on each Nexus. So I need to make sure I have 2 per. So there's always a probe being produced. And then I'm just gonna select the army and I move that, and I don't care. And I'm gonna go back to macroing. I like don't give a fuck that I'm getting attacked right now. I can take a probe as well. And here's the rule: every so your natural Nexus goes down at like 125, but from that point on, every Nexus up until 4 bases goes down at every 2-minute mark. So at 4 minutes and 6 minutes, essentially, you throw down your natural or your 3rd base and your 4th base. Does that make sense? I might admit that's not confusing, but yeah. It also pairs well with your saturation of your mineral line. Okay, now we can.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna rebox this and then write everything down. But
yeah, we'll break it down too. I'm gonna break it down in like that notepad thing I was showing you a second ago. And now I can re-rally all my Nexus to my 4th base because that base is done. Or I mean, that base is like 3rd base is fully saturated, and I can fix that too right now while I'm doing this. So I have 3 on each gas. I can grab a few off the mineral line, go back down to 16, send them to my 4th. And now look at our probe count is actually we're at 80. We're going to be at 82 here in a second, and we're kind of done. So probe count looks great. Now, let's actually go into adding on a lot more, you know, like gateways, because now we can actually afford it. Because if we're done, we have like maximum income, and we no longer have a probe cost because it's done. We have all the probes that we need. So now my money's.
I can't believe you got the 80 probes this quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like if you just hit those probe buttons a lot, it changes your whole fucking build. Now we can start chrono boosting our upgrades and our immortals, because we don't have to chrono boost probes anymore. So we're making a bunch of gateways. So we just added on like 7 gates. So that's nice. Just keep producing
so a lot
nonstop.
of games come late for the sake of early macro.
A lot of games go what? Sorry.
A lot of gates maybe come a little bit later.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. If you make too many gates too fast, you won't be able to afford all your your constant production of pylons and probes and all that stuff. It'll just be too much. Because it's not just like a one-time thing. It's like a constant expense you add into your build when you add too many gates too fast. And now we have our main base. If you notice, it's starting to mine out. So what we're going to start doing now is we're going to take another base. Because that should be a rule you have, is you always want to maintain, you want to get to 4 bases super fast, and you want to maintain constant 4 base saturation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in a 5th base, because main base is starting to lose patches.
Wow.
Okay, and now we can even add on a few more gates again, because we just added the 5th base on, and that's fine. And now we're going to keep chrono boosting our immortals, we can keep chrono boosting our upgrades. And now let's get ready to start adding in some Archons, because we have tons of gas, and you know, we want to add in some Archons anyways. They're good. So our composition now can start switching into Zealot, like Immortal, Zealot Immortal Archon, or Archon Charge Lot Zealot, or you know what I'm saying? Charge Archon Immortal. Yep. Jesus, I was looking. It's like, how the fuck do I say that again? Oh my god.
One of my favorite.
Yeah, it's super good.
I return to.
And now.
I've watched all your series, but I don't remember it being this quick. I'm just so impressed.
I'm giving you a very efficient example to work with. Like, you have to realize the reason why I said like, oh, if you can max out by like 1050 back then is because I'm accounting for mistakes. Like if you actually like forget to make probes here and there, it'll definitely. This is why I'm saying it slows you down so much. And now we've already maxed out at 930, 940, like right between there. And this is when I would say you could now attack. You could actually go attack your opponent once you figure out where the bases are, because we just scouted the map with our zealots. And if you were like, let's just say you go, okay, well now I know where he is. I want to attack there, shift there, shift there. Army's gonna do its thing. Forget about it. Go back to your bases, and now look at your natural. It's starting to mine out. So let's take another base. Let's go ahead and add on like a 6th base. And in the meantime, let's add on a few more gates and maybe another robo, so we can make sure we always stay maxed. And then maybe add on like a cannon and a battery per mineral line, just so we have, you know, like our defense in case anything attacked us, like a banshee or whatever.
Yeah.
And now we can see our expansion just died, which is fine. So let's go take another base somewhere else, and let's get ready to defend that attack if you know it comes to the point where we have to do that. Now we can take cannons and batteries at the new base we just built in the top or the middle right of the map. And now we have cannon battery at every base. Our natural is oversaturated, so let's send those probes elsewhere. And yeah, I mean, like the army is just A-moving him, you know, easy peasy. And at this point,
timing is like everything.
Yep.
It seems.
Yep. And at this point too, you could be like, I would say if you have a lot of bank like we do this game, make your gateway count go up to between 20 to 24, which basically means you want to just kind of go for pretty much an entire full command card page. So like the bottom middle where you select everything, it goes up to a selection of 24. So if you're like almost full or you just hit full, that's like perfect. For beta GM, try to always get to 20 to 24. So like 2 or 3 robos and like 17 gates or 18 gates, 19 gates, whatever, something around there.
More than one robo.
Yeah, like don't add on more than one robo right away. Add on more than one robo like once you max out, so you can remax with more robo production. That way you don't add on like 3 robos and you're only at like 100 supply and you just can't afford that.
Yep.
All right, so now I'm gonna go back and we're gonna watch the replay really fast, and I'm gonna do the minute thing that I'm not gonna watch like all the thing of it or all of it like slowly. I'm just gonna break it down minute to minute, and we'll write down the timers of worker and army supply, or total supply rather. So now at minute 1, we have 17 worker, and we have 18 supply. 18 supply. Which means there's one more worker in the Nexus, which is fine. That's how it should be. Okay. And then at minute number 2, we have 22 workers. 22 workers and oops, wrong one. We have 22 workers and we have 22 supply. So you can see I'm actually not building a probe, which is you know, you probably should. And look at my money, I have enough to build it, so this is already a mistake. If you were to really think about this, I should have another probe in the Nexus being built. It's fine though. Like again, this is where you account for like there could be like a second of a mistake here and there. And the reason why we don't have a Nexus or a probe being built in the Nexus is because we just built all of our last buildings that we needed to build. And if we did have a probe being built, which you just constantly produced it, you would supply block, which if you supply block with this, I think that's better than not building the probe at all. So if I hit play with the probe, we'll probably start here in just a second. But you get the point. Like always just keep fucking pumping that probe nonstop. And there you go. It started immediately right after, like the 1 second after. But yeah, like it's totally fine. If you make a couple mistakes here and there, you're still going to be fine. It's just you always want to strive to try to fix those mistakes all the time. And now at the next mark at 3 minutes, we're at 29 probes, and we are at 35 supply. So now we're starting to build army here as well. At 4 minutes, we are at 40 probes, and we're at 52 supply. Okay, and now at 5 minutes, we're at 49 probes and 73 army supply. And these numbers are going to start ramping up pretty fast and getting out of control pretty quickly at this point. That's why I was saying,
like I can do this so many times at beta GM, but it's very different when we actually look at the numbers like this.
Yeah. Oh, it's like that it's because a lot of people that are learning StarCraft, especially when people that are trying to use beta GM stuff, they don't use time as a resource. Like they just think, oh well, you made stalkers, I made stalkers. You made probes, I made probes. We're doing the same thing. But it's definitely like time is actually a factor that changes everything in this game, if it's efficient or not. And the first 6 minutes of the game really does tell the tale of if your build is efficient. Like if your build can be over 100 supply by 6 minutes, your build's good. If your build cannot, your build like look at the AI for instance. It has 29 supply right now. I honestly will say it's very realistic that you will play games in Gold League where this will be what your supply will look like against your opponent. I'm dead serious. It will just happen.
It's awesome.
Alright, so I gotta back that up for a second. Okay, so 7 minutes. We have 80 probes already at 7 minutes. So 7 minutes, 80 probes, and 124 supply in total. And now probe production is pretty much done. And now army supply is going to start ramping up super fast because this is when we throw down all of our like massive amounts of gates. 8 minutes. We have 82 probes and 140 supply. And at 9 minutes, we have still 82 probes. And we have 180 supply. So you can see like the supply jumps. Like, for instance, like look at minute 1 to 2. It's 4 supply. Then it's 13 supply. Then it's 17 supply. Then that's 21 supply. Then it's 25 supply. Then that's 26 supply. Then it's 16 supply. And suddenly it's 40 supply jump. So, like, I would say, honestly, I do think if you really think about like how there's incremental jumps, except for that the one point where it was 6 to 7 was good, but then 7 to 8, it went backwards. And the reason why that probably was because while we were making all of our gateways, we probably did not maximize the 2 gateways we already had and the robo we had. We probably didn't chrono boost it as much. We probably didn't produce it as much out of the gates. We probably just got a little bit preoccupied with making tons of gates. So we prioritized that instead. But if you played perfect, you maximize your production forever, always. So again, like that's where I would say. Also, here's another thing too. That's actually not entirely true what I just said. So army is actually total supply, and another reason why our total supply also stopped. I actually was producing. I was like, okay, maybe I didn't produce for a while, but then here's the real logic why it stopped. Probes stopped being built, so we actually stopped incorporating the probe supply jumps, because there was always a large supply jump up until 7 to 8, but look at 7 to 8's probe jump. It's only 2 supply. Right. So that's actually really what it was. Just kidding. That's not actually because we weren't using our gateways. But it looks like thinking about it like that though, like trying to critically think like, why are my supply jumps not going up? What's going on? You got to think about shit like that. And if I was still making probes at that point and my supply went up like crap, that would then mean, oh, I just wasn't using my gateways. So things always to consider, right? It's just making sure you're trying to be efficient. And then finally the last one for 10 minutes, which is obviously I guess we don't even really need to write this down. It's going to be 82 probes and 200 supply because we maxed out at like 930. We could actually write that down just to say that exactly. At what time exactly was it? At 9 minutes and yeah, it's 9:30. So we'll write down like a parenthesis 9:30 max. Okay. So now you can always you don't have to write down what I just wrote down. You could literally even just come back to this replay and just save the timestamp of whatever time in this replay is when this little notepad is open, and you can see my numbers I just wrote down here, and you can go, okay, well, I can now make my own version of this and my own games and my own replays when I want to know how I can improve. Like let's just say hypothetically you play a really good game. You go, wow, I just owned that guy. I played that super well. Let's see how well I compared to the ViBE example build. And keep doing that. Like every time you feel like you're honestly, like I would say, get a example like what this just was, and like refresh your mind with it. Try to do it, and if you think you do it well, or if you think you do it poorly, that also is fine. Just periodically compare yourself with examples of your current version of your play to this right here, and see how well you do in comparison. And always strive to make it as close as you can to it. Always strive to do better and do better and do better. Like this example I gave you here, if you can match it, if you get to a point where you can match what I just showed you consistently, you can get to Diamond League. I guarantee it. Like what I just showed you is above Diamond level macro in terms of like just defensive efficiency. So I don't expect you to hit these numbers tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I do think that you could eventually hit them over time. And for the sake of like having a coaching lesson that's going to take you for like, not just like, oh, well, next week, come talk to me again, because this is only going to be good for 1 week and you'll just surpass it. This is something that can take you all the way to Diamond when suddenly now your macro is fucking ballin'. So I would highly
Really?
yeah, no, for sure.
Really?
I would highly recommend that you really watch this VOD a few times, and you don't lose the things we talked about like throughout the game. Like especially watch from the moment I started this example game to like right now, for instance. Watch these a lot, or watch this a few times to really drill it in to what you're doing. Like for instance, like don't forget the 2-minute rule thing where I was like I expand at my natural at 125, but then you could pretend it's 2 minutes, okay? Pretend it's 2 minutes, but it really should be 125. But then if your natural's down before 2 minutes, your third base is down by 4 minutes, your fourth base is down by 6 minutes, like, and then pretty much your fifth base should be going down roughly around 8 minutes, because that's roughly around the time when your main base is going to start mining out. Okay. So, like, in general, like roughly around almost every 2 minutes, you're going to be throwing down another base. Because look at what time it is right now. It's 9:30, and look at my natural. If you look at the patch on the top left, or the top right patch, that's the farthest one to the right, that patch only has 5 minerals on it. So that means I should be taking another base here pretty soon. So that means that would be around 10 minutes. That base would be getting thrown down around 10 minutes. So a 2-minute rule for expansions, or like if you, the general rule is you just want to make probes constantly, and you also another way to understand it is every time your mineral line is pretty much fully saturated, you want to take another expansion. So I was expanding every time I was around, like when I hit like 16 probes on the mineral line and I was continuing to build them, I was also setting up another base because I could afford it. So that's how that also makes sense. Whether just if we don't, because I don't want you to just be like a time only guy. I want you to understand what this also means, and it's because we have good saturation, so we can afford more.
Okay. And again, what's really impressive is you're not only macroing probes, but also the supply at the same time, which is the toughest thing, I think, to do both.
Yeah, and what I'm doing as well is I have all my production in control group 4, and I have my nexuses all in control group 5, and I am just rotating 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, and I'm just making sure that we can.
You said all your nexuses were on the same control group, and all your. What do you mean by production explicitly?
So, production is everything that's not a nexus. Production is Stargate, Robo, Gateway, all things that produce units that you fight with. Nexus is all just obviously Nexus. And you don't want to have all of them on the same control group. You want to have Nexus isolated from Robo and gateways and stuff like that. But if you have all your Robos and your gateways on the same control group, you can look at 4. Mine is 4, but I hit 4 and I can see, are the gateways cooled down? And is the Robo producing? So a lot of people like to say, I like a warp gate hotkey. And I think that's fine. I'm not going to say you shouldn't use it. But I think it's actually easier for learning if you use all production on one control group. And then if you want to produce on it, you can hit 4, or like, again, I'll just use 4 for the sake of my example. 4, it selects your gateways automatically. If you hit tab, it'll select your robos. If you hit tab, it'll select your stargates. And if you hit tab again, it'll go back to your gateways. Or if you just hit like 5, 4 and like deselect the gateway, like that control group altogether and come back to it, it'll always start on your gateways.
Oh.
So even if
I should unlearn the habit of the warp gate hotkey, which for grid for me is Y. I should unlearn that. You think?
I would say it's not required. I don't even use it personally.
Okay.
It's definitely not required.
All right.
But yeah, like, cause if you use the control group, like the control group thing, it just means the only thing you'll have to do is make sure every time you build a gateway, you add it into control group. So don't forget to add in new gateways. That's the only thing that will fuck you over if you don't do that. Because if you use a warp gate, it automatically adds in all your new gateways to the warp gate hotkey, because it's just selecting all warp gates is what it does.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, you have to do that anyways with your robos and your stargates. There's no hotkey for select all stargate or select all robo. You have to add it into a control group if you want to have it in a control group. So just get in the habit of doing it to all your production buildings, like your gateways included, and then you can have. So like, for instance, if you go to my main base right now, or actually we'll do it in the replay because you're not in the game anymore. If I control click my gates in the main and I like shift click my robo, So now I can see I have 7 gates selected and a robo selected. I can see 6 of those 7 gates are on cooldown, and 1 gate is bright green, which means it's not on cooldown. And then the robo has a white box in it, which means it's producing something. So I can clearly see very quickly, with a visual distinction, if my buildings are being utilized or not. So it's easy to just see the difference. So it's a good habit to develop for yourself. It's the same habit you're using for your Nexus, for the white box trick to see if you're producing or not.
Well, that's a big change. Yeah, I was totally committed to the hotkey, but this helps.
Yeah, and then just again, really, if you feel like you're deviating and you're like, okay, well, I feel like I'm kind of derailing myself here. What's going on? What's ViBE doing differently here? How can I relearn this again? Just always come back to this as an example and be like, okay, like a refresher. I'll refresh myself, and now suddenly I'm back on track again. And the general idea of the build goes like this. Okay, this is the final thing I'll say, and then we should be good. So, Chrono Boost initially is on Nexus and the gate. The first gateway gets 1, and then you just do Nexus, Nexus, Nexus. All Chrono Boosts go on all Nexus all day until you're like basically around 70 plus probes. This will usually happen by the time your 4th base starts, or between 6 and 7 minutes, and you'll be kind of done chrono boosting your probes because you'll be kind of there. And the way you can also check your probe count is you can mouse over your supply, and it tells you how many probes you have. So once you're like 75, 78 probes, you can kind of stop chrono boosting probes. You're good. Once you're done chrono boosting probes, chrono boost goes into Forge and Robo. Forge and Council, by the way, do not get made until after your 3rd base is like fully saturated. So don't make that shit like on 2 bases. Make that shit like probably make your 4th base and then pair making your 4th base with the Forge and the Council. So it's super efficient. And then you can make the Templar Archives as soon as your Council's done.
Yep.
Then for unit production, you're going to make Stalkers and Immortals, and you can throw an Observer in there. Until your council is done. And then once your council's done, you can start charge. And once you start charge, stop making stalkers and start making zealots. And then your gas will kind of skyrocket because of this. But that's also when you're making the Templar Archives because your council's done. And you can start also making Archons. So your composition will go from Stalker Immortal into
Did you
Charge
hear about
Archon
the
Immortal.
man with 5 penises?
And then after that, you'll go into just more gates, and you'll just keep adding on more production.
All right.
Sorry, there's a.
Well, this is very helpful.
Yeah. No worries, dude. I hope it helps. It's awesome. The last thing I would say, at this point, once you like max out on Gateway Cannon or on Cannon Battery, you can add on more. I said the wrong thing. Once you're done with like making all your gateways and your robos, and you have all your units, and you pretty much max out, you can add on Cannon Battery to every mineral line you have, so it makes counterattack pressure way less intimidating, and it alleviates a lot of pressure off of you in case someone does some weird counter harassment. And then the last thing you can do after you add in Cannon Battery to every base, once you're also at a very healthy amount of gateway and robo, while you can maintain maxing out, you have 2 options. You could do both if you really wanted to. I would say you can add on a Dark Shrine. So now you have the ability to also add on DTs for defense or aggression if you really want to add it on. It'll be definitely useful as you progress through the leagues if you want to just be like, I'm going to make 8 DTs and throw them at that base. Or I'm getting attacked. Let's make like 8 DTs to defend myself. Or like 10 DTs to suddenly defend myself because I see there's no Overseer in his army, or he doesn't have Raven. Like maybe he just won't scan, and I'll just fucking kill all of his units because my army is currently attacking his base. What if I just make like 8 DTs here and just wipe out a bunch of units because he just doesn't realize? That could totally happen. The very last thing, if you want to, you could also add on, once you're at this point and you're super fucking rich, if you're always maxed out and you're like, let's just say you're not quite winning the game though, you could add on like 4 or 5 Stargates and a Fleet Beacon. And you could just start going into weapon upgrades on your cyber core and go into like carriers. If you want to take it to that level, you could totally do that too. Those are options you have if you want to take them, but you don't have to. You do not have to. For now, as long as you can do the first 10 minutes of the game like this, you at that point you're fucking great. That's gonna unlock so much potential for you.
Okay. Awesome, man.
All right, dude. Thank you. Any final questions about anything that maybe didn't make sense?
Just real quick, you said not to make a forge until around the 3rd base, so I shouldn't worry about making a single forge in the beginning, you know, for the sake of like defense of vulnerable bases. I should just wait.
Yeah, definitely wait. If you're making cannons early game, that's the exact thing that makes you inefficient right there. That's like the something that's like the equivalent of making an early forge to make cannons for early bases is like making multiple gateways on one base before you want to take your natural. And that's the kind of shit that will be like, wow, okay, well, why did ViBE max out at 9:30 and I maxed out at 11:15?
Mm-hmm.
That will do that to you because that shit is expensive. A cannon is the same cost as a gateway.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I will rewatch this video, and you may hear from me again.
Sure. Sounds good. Also, keep in mind too, one little tip, because I want to make sure you have an idea here. If you ever play against someone who is like multi-prong harassing you, don't feel like it's like you can't do this. Okay, you can totally do this as an option. What I'm about to say. Grab your army and send it to wherever the attack is, and then green box half of your army and send it to where you think the other attack will be. Like you can spread your army around your base and just sit there. If your opponent's super harass based and trying to just kill workers all day, just spread your army out around your bases until he actually does a real attack to you, and then or until you max out, and then you can do a real attack to him, which will probably be more the case. So yeah, don't feel like you always have to have your army in one ball if you're dealing with a harass heavy player.
Right, that's cool.
Yeah, because you can always do a select all army and re-converge it once you max out, and then attack him with everything together. And then while you attack, that's when you add on cannon battery, which will then deal with harass. But it'll be really easy to deal with harass if your supply is at 130 and your opponent's supply is at 62.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a break from playing a ladder for a bit and just really work on this video and trying to match it. So
yeah, dude, hit it up. Yeah, see how well you can do, and like I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna feel it'll just feel like you're like, wow, I have so much shit. Like you might not realize it if you play against the AI. I'm dead serious. Like I bet you're gonna have this moment at some point down the line where when you feel confident with his build, you're gonna use it in a ladder game, and you're gonna go, is he like AFK? Like, why does he have nothing? And you're gonna be like, wow, okay, I guess I just out macro this guy like fucking crazy. Like he has literally fucking 80 supply to my 200. I guarantee that's gonna happen.
I'm glad you gave me master level shit or diamond level, whatever it is. I'm glad that I have something to work like higher than I can be at this moment, much higher. That's good.
Yeah, because like you can still try to do this and make mistakes, and that's where like the 1050 silver max stuff comes out. But this is just raw, efficient, constant pro production and raw, efficient, constant gateway and robo production.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thanks.
Well, yeah, good luck. Thank you for doing a lesson, dude. And
I'll probably do another one.
So, dude, sounds good. I'll send you a message by tomorrow, and because I gotta when my stream's over today, I'll edit it and I'll upload it. But by tomorrow, I'll have a message for you on Discord where I'll have the video linked, so you can just click the link, and then suddenly you're watching the video again.
Oh, good. So okay, good.
So
Sounds
just
good.
I would say I don't know if you have an actual Discord account or if you just did it through a browser. Just save your Discord account, or if you don't have a Discord account, if you know that's something you just don't have and you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. I could also, if you prefer, I could email you the VOD instead, because I mean I imagine you're gonna have the same email.
Yep, email me the VOD. Why not?
Okay, so I'll email it to you then. All right, dude.
All right, sounds good.
Yo, have a good rest of your day. Thanks again for doing this, and I'll see you next time, dude.
All right, take care.
All right, see you, man.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching another coaching lesson. This has been a gold level lesson with our boy JSC. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it helps you as well. But yeah, I don't know. Go check out more videos if you want to learn more. There's videos for all ranges of skill. There's videos for even like down to like silver I think I even have some videos of bronze. In terms of like coaching stuff, there's bronze to GM stuff, which is legit bronze stuff. And there's shit all the way to like GM. So thank you, much love, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, good luck in your own games, and I'll see you next time. Peace, guys.